Another reviewer compared the perfect casting of Jenna Ortega to Downey Jr. being cast to play Tony Stark. I couldn't agree more. Christina Ricci was my childhood crush, but Jenna Ortega is my definitive Wednesday Addams. What's going on YouTube? My name is Jay Lee and I like a lot of stuff. Today I'm talking about the Netflix series based on the beloved Addams Family character, Wednesday. Growing up in the 90s, I remember watching the Addams Family and its sequel, Addams Family Values, but never really formed a nostalgic bond with either film. When the show's marketing started popping up online, my interest was piqued for one reason: Jenna Ortega. The young actress has become something of a modern-day Scream queen as of late. In 2022, she had a big year in the genre, starring in the Scream soft reboot, a film called American Carnage, which I haven't seen yet, as well as X, A24's highbrow slasher. Anywho, beyond the physical likeness, Ortega really seems to have embraced the character fully. But not only that, she gives Wednesday little touches of her own flair. The actress went and learned fencing and how to play the cello in preparation for this role, which isn't remarkable in itself, but then I go and find out she actually choreographed the now infamous Raven dance sequence in episode 4 herself. It gave me pause regarding just how much she was responsible for this rendition of the character. I found it to be a fascinating dance of art meets artist, and the more I watched her in the show, the more I was impressed by her. As Wednesday Addams, Ortega carries herself with a corpse-like rigidity and an air of morbid femininity that's equal parts creepy and alluring. I read that she was asked by director Tim Burton not to blink while filming her scenes, which effectively adds to her haunting appearance. Whether she's just acting with her eyes or delivering dark foreboding gospel, it's impossible to take your eyes off of her. And throughout the 8 one-hour-long episode run, her ominous tone and dark lines of dialogue just never got old for me. I will admit that some of it does feel a tad forced from a writing standpoint, like it becomes almost routine when people are talking to her to wait for the macabre punchline.
I do like stabbing.
I found each savage retort hilarious personally, and it is on brand for the character, but I can imagine it not being everyone's cup of tea. What I didn't expect from the show was for it to turn into a giant detective murder mystery. The show was definitely at its strongest early on when the stage was still being set and the characters were still being introduced. The Nevermore campus gave me shades of Hogwarts, if the 4 founding wizards were replaced by Edgar Allan Poe. Though not nearly as fleshed out as the School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, despite having a longer runtime than the first 3 Harry Potter movies, Nevermore still serves as an interesting backdrop to the trials and tribulations Wednesday has to face. There's also plenty of references for horror fans and longtime Addams Family devotees to catch and grin about throughout the show that added another layer of enjoyment for me. Early on, the show seems to be setting up a real character study on Wednesday being forced to attend the school for outcasts. There's her strangely antagonistic relationship with her mother, her disdain for virtually all social interactions, and of course, her reclusive creature of the night motif. And although it doesn't necessarily lose sight of her character arc, the big event that changes the trajectory of the show just feels like a distraction from my wanting to learn more about Wednesday herself. I suppose that's the biggest burden for this show, is that the main character is so much more fascinating and entertaining than the actual plot of the story. The supporting characters are mostly good. There's a few standouts in Enid, Bianca, and Nevermore principal Larissa Weems, played beautifully by the wonderful Gwendolyn Christie. But some of the peripheral characters I found boring and often poorly acted. By the end of the show, it does start to come apart a bit because you realize the main character is a 16-year-old girl. And yes, in some ways she is a bit of a Mary Sue with her fighting abilities and powerful mind for detective work, and other skills uncharacteristic of someone that age. But she does make mistakes and messes up here and there. I should have enjoyed that air of realism, but I think I would have embraced it more had the show not set her up to be so flawless. So when she's messing up, it's kind of like, wait, weren't you smarter than this like 2 scenes ago? Nevertheless, this was a show my wife and I binged and enjoyed thoroughly. She seemed to enjoy it more than I did, but I'm definitely a fan of the show and the character, and I hope it gets renewed for a season 2. Which will likely happen since Jenna Ortega's popularity seems to have reached atomic levels after all the buzz. Flaws and all, I really enjoyed this series and absolutely think it's worth trying out for yourself. Wednesday on Netflix gets an 8 out of 10 from me. My other big gripe about this show is that it came out at the end of November and not leading up to Halloween. Ah well, I guess it's nice to balance out the December cheer with some drab and drear. Come back soon to catch my thoughts on all the stuff I haven't talked about yet.